Well, for a little more insight into some of the problems facing oil-rich North Africa, we can now speak to Shakib Khaleil. He's the president of the African Energy Commission and the former oil minister for Algeria. Thank you so much, Mr. Khaleil, to join us today. Now, how big of a threat is this unrest in North Africa and the Middle East for global energy markets?
Well, unrest, in many of these oil-producing, exporting countries poses, a threat to global energy markets because it poses a risk for security of supply, of oil to the world market. And consequently, you could see high volatility, in the market because of the perceived risk, that poses, to the oil market. And, of course, this depends, how big this security is going to be threatened, is it going to be cut completely, is it going to be cut for a short while or for a long time. So definitely it poses a threat, to the
Mr. Khaleil,
to the oil market.
Yesterday,
yes.
OPEC was saying that actually the fundamentals are pretty strong, that there's no supply-demand shortage. In terms of what you're fearing, is there a danger that supplies to Europe will be disrupted just with Libya, or does it have to spread to neighboring countries?
Well, I'm not sure even Libya is going to be cut completely. Perhaps, it's going to be cut for a short while, because of the unrest, but I don't expect it really to be cut completely. I don't think there will be any other threat from any other parts. But I don't think, this is a big problem for OPEC, because OPEC, was faced with the same problem, if you remember, in 2003, when most of, I would say all of the production for Venezuela and large production of Nigeria was cut off, and it was completely replaced by the other producing countries. So this scenario could be repeated, and if it is for a short while, like 3 months or 6 months, I don't think it would be a big problem for OPEC to replace it.
But Mr. Khaleil, we're also hearing that, because this violence is escalating and we don't really know where it will hit next, that this is the biggest single threat to the oil markets since the Gulf War. Libya produces 1.6, million barrels per day. So if it is cut off, completely, I think it will be able to be made up by, other producing countries, even for, a long time. And if other countries, are join this cut, it's the same thing, because like I explained before, Venezuela at that time produced 3.2 million barrels, and Nigeria produced 1 million, in 2003. And OPEC was able to replace that 4 million barrels for more than 6 months. So I don't think that would be a problem. But definitely, the market is going to perceive that as a threat, and you're going to see lots of volatility and perhaps, peaking of the oil prices. But I don't think that would be sustainable, as peaking, in the oil prices. Mr. Khaleil, you say that we're going to see a lot of volatility and then we're going to see the peaking of the oil price. Are we going to touch 120, 140 like we did a couple of years ago?
I don't think so. I think perhaps, you're going to see some peaking around $100, but I think the natural price level is going to be around, $80. So pretty soon, I think we're going to see the price going back to $80, which is more sustainable price. But of course, we're going to see some volatility, and it could peak around 100, 110 at the most. But I don't see it really hitting the 120 like we saw before.
Mr. Khaleil, thank you so much. A pleasure to speak to you as always, the former Algerian oil minister there, Shakib Khaleil.